Ravi Rothenberg, welcome to the Modern Wisdom Press Author Spotlight. I am so happy you're here today. The energy is high, and I'm just really excited to hear more about you and your amazing book, Ready to Rise, How to Find Your Path to Peace and Purpose, because I know a lot of people out there are looking for the answer to this question.
Yeah.
So welcome.
Yeah, thank you. It's amazing to be here. It's amazing to hold this book in my hands, to smell it, to feel it. Yeah, great to be here.
Well, so let's talk just a little bit about how you decided to write this book, because I know your own personal journey to finding peace and purpose in your own life really inspired you to want to work with people in this way and to share more about your journey. And I know you have really practical steps and some tools in this book. So can you tell us a little bit more about what inspired you and who it's for?
Yeah. Great question. What inspired me, there's so many thousands of things that have crossed my path on my own way to finding peace and purpose. I've been on my journey, I will say full time, for about 3.5 years now. And getting onto that path was certainly not by choice. I lost my dream job, my relationship dissolved, and I made a really hard choice to take a big trip to the East, to India. It was a hard choice at the time, but now looking back, it was so clear how it happened, why, when, everything really aligns. And I found a lot of meaning in all the things that I've encountered on my journey. And I've always been a writer. And so I've, journaling and again, just making meaning out of my own personal experience. And then there came a point where I felt like I was sitting on so much. I'd done so many workshops and retreats and healing and immersions, and I didn't see many people talking about these semi-non-traditional approaches to spiritual and personal growth. And that's when I knew, I was like, all right, there's something here, something really significant. And then we crossed paths, and then I was already starting to write my own book and making some progress, but it didn't have the clarity and the through line that ultimately I needed to make it a viable, digestible piece of literature. And then something major happened. My best friend from childhood passed away. Complications from an overdose, and ultimately he was not able to find his path to peace and purpose. So here's my best friend who passes away. I'm very much committed to my journey. I'm sitting on a mountain of wisdom and experience. And that was, again, just a major catalyst for me to really recommit to this book and to getting my wisdom and my experience onto pen and paper, and ultimately into a beautifully bound paperback.
I love it, Ravi. And what an inspiration to be able to help others who perhaps feel lost. And so that's my question. Is this really a book for somebody who's kind of hit rock bottom? You said you lost your job and your relationship. Is it written towards somebody who is just really feeling lost and seeking purpose?
For sure. I think that even as I reread parts of it, it's truly for anyone, any seeker on their journey. But in the interest of getting clearer on like who it is really going to land for, it's definitely that person who is feeling stressed, or the pressure of like, man, what am I doing with my life? Am I living on purpose? Do I know what my purpose is? This is especially great for somebody who's in transition, maybe moving from one job to the next, moving on from a relationship, loss of a loved one, right? Really in that key transitionary phase where I talk a lot about embracing transition. So this is definitely a guidebook for the seeker or the person who is ready to embrace transition.
Beautiful, beautiful. And I know that you use the analogy of cars in your book. Can you tell us a little bit about that? And I know cars had a personal, meaning for you. And so I love that you have kind of framed your practices and the material for your reader around this analogy of driving a car, finding your path.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a fun metaphor that, made sense for me to weave throughout the book. And really, we are the vehicle. And as the vehicle, we're on a path, on a road. And I think it's really important to find ways that we can zoom out on our life and get a different perspective so that we can see what type of car we're in, we can see what the road looks like. And then I love the analogy of that we are also, a car has tires, and tires are where the rubber meets the road. And a lot of us think that we are, on a certain type of road, and so we have tires specific to that road. But what I've come to experience is that the actual path, when we're really committed to our own unique journey of peace and purpose and meaning and alignment, the road doesn't always look like we thought it would, right? So it might be gravel or lots of bumps and jumps and things that the tires that we have are maybe not equipped for. So it's important that we inflate and we build out our unique tires. And I use an acronym that tires are our toolbox of inner resources to support our evolution.
Mm.
And so again, there's a lot of practical exercises and wisdom around what kind of tires do I have? What do I need? And how do I build out that toolbox that's going to support me down this journey?
I love it. I love it. And so just personal question, car guy, what is your favorite car?
My favorite car, so many good ones out there. Well, I'm a big part of my journey too. I bought my dream car, my like realistic dream car. I owned a BMW M3. It was used, but it was like an older, cool model, and it was really, for me, that was like so much of my life and me to like attaining a car. And what I would come to find out is that a car is just an externality. While it's nice to drive and enjoy, it can't love me back. It's not something that's going to be a source of my ongoing happiness. So a big part of my journey was actually letting go and selling that car. But I love an M3.
Thank you. And that's so important because I know you said you had a successful career, and you needed to find, after losing your job, more meaning. And even though you had a great career, there was a lack of meaning, is what I remember you sharing in the book.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I talk about in the book this idea of occupational alignment, especially when we start talking about this idea of purpose. People get really hung up on career and purpose. Like, do they have to be the same? Do I need to quit my job if I'm going to focus on purpose? And vice versa. If I want to focus on purpose, do I need to shift the work I'm doing? The answer is, I don't know. It's so unique to everyone's circumstances. But I talk about this concept, yeah, occupational alignment, right? So if the work that you are doing aligns with your purpose or what you believe your purpose to be, amazing. Or if it's at least in enough alignment with you and your soul's signature that you can do that work and still have energy left over to pursue purpose and meaning, great. But if it's really drawing energy from your soul, if it's not giving you the time or the space or the clarity to do purposeful work or to live on purpose, then maybe it's worth rethinking. Is this going to be the job or career that serves me in the long term, if I even want to prioritize living on purpose or through the lens of purpose?
Yes. And peace. Let's talk about peace, because I know we need more of it collectively and individually. So
Yeah.
talk a little bit about the tools. I think there's some really practical tools in your book, working with nervous system. And
Yeah.
I like the man in the mirror one. So I was just,
Nice.
yeah, if you wanted to share a little bit about peace and tools for finding peace.
Yeah. The thing is, peace is so simple, but oftentimes the most simple concepts are the hardest ones to arrive at. And peace takes on many forms. So, and like you mentioned, it could be as simple as, when I look in the mirror, am I at peace with what I see? Both physically, emotionally, energetically, can I be with myself? Right. And for a lot of us, we over schedule, we're so busy. This idea of stillness or being at peace with where we're at is so foreign. And so there's an exercise called the man in the mirror, or woman in the mirror, or person in the mirror. But truly, it's a meeting of self. Can I really just sit there and be with myself for 30 seconds, 5 minutes, right? At what point do I start to get uncomfortable with just being in my aloneness? And I talk a lot about loneliness versus aloneness. And when we're feeling lonely, we're reaching for something outside of ourselves constantly. But when we can be comfortable and at peace in our aloneness, there's really a bliss and a stillness that arises. Similarly, there's a lot of just physical and meditation practices, right? A lot of people who want to meditate, they want to feel what maybe inner peace feels like. But when they sit still and close their eyes, it's not a peaceful place to be. And so there are, again, some very practical but not so accessible exercises to arrive at some more stillness inside. And again, in my journey, I found that it's actually moving my body, dancing, shaking, doing some things that are very non-traditional. And on the other side of that is where I found peace. Yeah.
Beautiful, Ravi. Well, I know that you have a coaching practice and you offer workshops and maybe some retreats on the horizon. So
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about how people can work with you and how they can find you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, the best way to find me is on my website, risewithravi.com, or on Instagram at risewithravi. Also, just for the sake of it, my name Ravi is a Sanskrit word that translates to sun or sun god. And so this idea of this rising, and what does the sun do every day? It rises. And so for me, the rise theme connected to my name is really, for me, meaningful. Whether it gets picked up by other people or not, that's okay. But yeah, I love to support people. I'm here to serve, here to support your rising. So I offer one-on-one coaching in 3 or 6 month containers or longer if people are really committed to their rising, which I love. I also just recently wrapped up a group men's program called Rising Men, where I took people through a 10-week journey of, again, exploring all of the parts in us that we don't necessarily embrace. Because I think that's a big part of peace as well. When we really embrace the parts of us that we are shameful about or have really pushed away, when we really love all of our wholeness, there's a sense of peace that comes with that that's priceless. I also host in-person embodiment workshops under the title of the Embodiment Lab here in the Boulder area in the Front Range. And then, like Catherine mentioned, I'd love to host some retreats either later this fall or early next year. So be in touch if any of this resonates, either men's work or individual one-on-one coaching for men or women. I'd love to support your rising in whatever way aligns and makes sense.
Ravi, thank you so much for joining me today. And I'm just so excited for you and can't wait to see how your business rises and you reach more people to expand this peace and purpose-driven alignment with work in the world. It's a beautiful gift that you're offering. And I'm so happy that you decided to write this book and rise yourself. So thank you so much.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you, Catherine. Appreciate you.